Welcome to the Veterans Ascend Weekly Podcast. Today, we are honored to have Mike Schindler, CEO and founder of Operation Military Family Cares. Mike is a trainer and charismatic team leader. A U.S. Navy veteran, Mike is known throughout the U.S. as a subject matter expert on leadership development, healthcare systems, process integration, government relations, and veteran transition issues. He has over 20 years of experience in project management, coaching, and process improvement, working in and with the military, startups, federal and state agencies, nonprofits, universities, and Fortune 500 companies. We have the privilege today to hear about Operation Military Family Cares, hear Mike's insights on transition, and his perspectives on putting your best foot forward. So Mike, thank you so much for your time today. Please tell us about Operation Military Family Cares, how it got started, the mission, and your role.
Absolutely. Well, Robyn, thank you for having me on the show. OMF, what we commonly refer to as OMF, Operation Military Family. It really got started back in 2006 when my best buddy deployed to Afghanistan. And we were noticing just kind of this culture of military marriages kind of being pressed against the wall because of the op-tempo deployments at the time. And so my wife and I started this organization solely focused on improving and strengthening the military marriages, and then it kind of ballooned from there. And today, to fast track, today we develop world-class programs and solutions that really improve the health, the wellness, kind of the financial makeup of our military and veteran families, as well as the companies who hire them. So that we kind of match make that. So I love it. And they still have me in the CEO role. Got a great team, and they still have me, carving the path forward. So it's been a great opportunity, especially since I'm a recovering startup guy. So I love giving back.
That's awesome, Mike, and thank you for that. You're a Navy veteran, so I have to give kudos to the Navy, right?
Well, hey, listen, it's the best branch out there, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So tell us about the Combat Recovery Program, the benefits, and how a veteran or family member can get involved.
Yeah, so the Combat Recovery Program was developed out of Kentucky. Interesting story. My team came to me. And I am, as you get to know me, I am really a post-traumatic growth individual. I believe in that science, that we all experience trauma, some to greater degrees than others, but these are opportunities for us to lean into the growth point of it. And so I have always been, and Robyn, I think you know this, America's Greatest Asset, that's one of our series. I focus on what we bring to the table as veterans and spouses of veterans. And so they came to me, they sat me down around this table, and they said, we really think we need to do this combat recovery course. It really addresses the moral injury for those who have experienced combat. And I struggled with that, Robyn. I was a little uncertain for two reasons. Number one, I didn't necessarily want to focus on the trauma of an experience. And number two, it is faith-based. It really leans into Christian principles, which in our organization, we have been essentially agnostic in regards to that. Not because we don't have faith. I think people know that my wife and I are strong believers in God, but we wanted to be sure that we were opening the door to all people. So long story short, Robyn, they talked me into really sponsoring this in the Pacific Northwest and then helping out the organization in Kentucky. So we did not develop the curriculum, but we've become a major sponsor to the effort today, which has helped over 3,800 individuals go through the coursework throughout a number of states. And it is a 12-week course that helps individuals and their families unpack really the spiritual roots of their issues. So what are the roots of the problems? And it creates that brotherhood or that sisterhood that we're so used to in the military. And we walk through 12 weeks with them to graduate and get them back on a pathway to success. So we've had tremendous success with the program, not only in the Pacific Northwest, but throughout the country, over 3,800 graduates, as I mentioned. And I know we don't like to talk about suicide, but it's certainly relevant. Of those graduates, only one has committed suicide over the 5-6 years, I believe. And that's a pretty tremendous track record when you're talking about individuals who have experienced some sort of moral injury. So great course, love it. And to this day, I mean, it's become one of our big pillars in our organization.
That's wonderful. And you said the moral injury. I heard someone say that at a conference a couple of months ago, and I'd never heard that term, but it really is the context of what our soldiers and service members go through. It is a moral injury, and they have to have a way to come back and unpack that, as you said. So great program. Congratulations on the success of that. 3,800 is a wonderful number. And yes, one suicide is one too many, but you're doing great things. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so tell us your best piece of advice for a transitioning service member or veteran. What would you tell them?
Yeah, my best piece of advice is really do the work on discovering your post-service identity. Uh, it's so important. I deal with this, been dealing with this for years. We were instrumental in helping improve the transition process, making it that mandatory. But we've done such a great job of teaching people how to do resumes. And even then, HR will debate that to some degree. But it's really understanding who are you after the uniform comes off. Because, Robyn, you and I both know this, is in the military, they assign us our identity, right? And that's who we become. And then when we get out, it's suddenly like, well, who am I? I mean, I don't, I've got all these skill sets and I think I know what I want to do. But if you look at the data shows that our vets are quick to get hired, but typically roll out, over 50% of them roll out of their first job within the first 6 months. And it's because they haven't found that good fit. And so that's what I love what you're doing, beginning to bring veterans and employers together. It's really identifying who am I post-service. So
Right.
what does that mean? Who am I? And that requires work. And I tell guys when I work with them, guys and gals, I'm like, you've got to do that work. Otherwise, you'll be frustrated moving forward. You'll be like I was when I transitioned out. All these skills, ability, part of a great team, getting out, thought I could conquer the world. And 14 jobs later, I'm still trying to figure out what the heck am I supposed to be doing with my life, right? So you don't have to do that. You got to do the work up front.
That's great. And it really, you mentioned it, that is kind of our mission at Veterans Ascend, is to help the veterans and service members identify those skills that they have that they've taken for granted, that they wouldn't even imagine, especially somebody that doesn't have a direct correlation to the civilian community. Or what if I don't want to do what I did in the military? How do I take the skills that I have and transfer that over to a civilian occupation? When I got out of the Navy, the resume writer basically said, hey, you're a female, go get a job as an administrative assistant. And I lost 9 years of skills that I could have taken into the data processing world or ultimately HR, where I ended up. But it took me several years to get back to that point. So I don't want that to happen to other veterans. So you're right on point. Find those resources that can help you know who you are. And you're right, it's never about you in the military. And then as a civilian, it's all about you. Figure that out. So that's
Yep.
great. So kind of
Yep.
along the same lines, Mike, when a veteran is struggling after or during their transition from military service, what would you recommend to them or their family members?
Well, it depends on the struggle, right? So, if you look at the country, if it's like, I'm struggling financially, I'm struggling, emotionally, there's great resources out there, whether it be Cohen Clinic or whether it be, the America Serves Initiative, America Warrior Partnership. There are resources outside of military where people can turn to and get help that won't impact their career, in a negative sense. If they're struggling, as a couple, I know people struggle to go see their chaplains, but it's so important. They can always turn to us too. They can always turn and say, hey, OMF, what can you do to help us? But that transition point, the biggest issue that couples face in transition when you look at the data is they struggle with navigating the resources. And it really requires, like LinkedIn's a great tool, that's a super tool, But I say today, the America Serves initiative, which is in like 18 different communities across the U.S., if somebody goes to americaserves.org, they can get connected to resources most likely in their community, or at least that's a gateway for them to find the right resource. And the networking is so important. And what I mean by that is there's some great groups on Facebook, veterans groups on Facebook where we all are beginning to help each other. Rally Point, believe it, is, I just met with their CEO, great resource for people to turn to if they're struggling. They can get a lot of questions answered. It just depends on what the struggle is with. Veterati offers great mentorship. So there's a ton of resource. And Robyn, as I say all this, I feel like I'm almost giving people a resource overload. But it depends on the struggle. And if people are like, Mike, I just really want to reach out to you, they can always reach out to us. And, we'll take a very personal approach with that person and get them back on a pathway to where they can minimize their struggle and really leverage their assets, to shine as what I believe to be, one of America's greatest assets. So don't sit and struggle in the struggle, get out of it quickly. There's resources to help you.
Perfect. I was just gonna ask you what kind of to sum that up. The point is, don't suffer in silence. Reach out. There are resources, or like you said, there are veterans groups that you can talk to another veteran about the situation you're going through, or if it's career or finances or whatever it is, there is resources out there. So definitely awesome. Well, Mike, thank you so much for your service. Thank you very much for all that Operation Military Family Cares is doing, and you personally for all that you do for our military families. We really appreciate it. So listeners, for more information on Operation Military Family Cares, please visit their website at www.omf.OscarMikeFoxtrotCares.com. And for more information on Veterans Ascend or to sign up today, please visit our website at www.veteransascend.com. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.